So Melania Trump never actually showed up at the trial to support Donald Trump in any way. She wasn't there standing alongside him. Can't really say I blame her considering why he was there. I mean, it would be pretty humiliating to have to stand there beside your husband every day who paid hush money to a porn star that he was cheating on you with while you were pregnant with your kid. I imagine the whole thing had to be pretty humiliating, but she was a no-show. And when she was asked if she would be on the campaign trail, her exact words was, "Stay tuned," and we're still tuned in, and there's still no Melania. But what is so interesting is watching how places like Fox News tries to spin this. You know, I cannot imagine working for Fox News and sitting there coming up with ways to spin everything in Donald Trump's favor. I've always said that I'm just a guy who is reacting to reactions. I'm the man watching the man go crazy. I believe it was Harold Ramis one time that said the only thing funnier than watching a man go crazy is watching a man watch a man go crazy. And that's how I feel. I feel like I'm watching the world around me go crazy, and I'm reacting to their reactions because I see things for what they are. I see Melania no-show it, and I call it out for what it is, but I see people reacting and spinning it in a favorable way to Donald Trump, and these are the same people who are now spinning Jill Biden being there supporting Hunter on trial, that she's trying to intimidate Jill Biden. Now picture this in your head. Jill Biden trying to intimidate the witnesses and intimidate the jury and intimidate the whole thing. It's truly hilarious that this is the angle they're taking.
We're not going to go for the ride.
What message is the White House sending having Jill Biden walk into the courtroom? This is the First Lady of the United States.
Yep,
Yeah,
and
just
with all the
who his
SUVs,
family is.
all the SUVs and everything, all
the jury,
the hoopla that happened. I would say this.
Let's try to figure out their logic here. Donald Trump violated his gag order 10 times, and finally he rallied the troops around him, got them all to come to New York and wear matching ties and violate the gag order for him. That's not intimidation, though. That's just everyone rallying around and supporting Donald Trump. And Jill Biden is there to intimidate, there to throw her weight around. It's so comical that they're spinning this, but they dig their heels in even deeper. Take a look at this clip.
It's a pretty simple case. But Trace, I'll tell you what surprises me the most. It's not the fact that he decided not to do a guilty plea. It's the fact that Jill Biden is sitting there during jury selection. And that's remarkable. I mean, think about it if you're a juror sitting there. You're looking at Hunter Biden, you're thinking about the ramifications of this case, and then the First Lady is sitting there in the front row watching you as you do that. I mean, that's definitely a message from the White House.
Yeah, and that was my second question is, what do you make of that? I mean, it kind of seems to me like it's unusual there. I mean, it's hard to say that she can't do it, but it seems unusual, Carrie.
Yeah, and for jury selection, you know, we're not talking about opening arguments, closing arguments. We're not even talking about Hunter on the stand. You know, typically if someone sits there during jury selection, it's because, you know, they're sending a message. They want the jurors to look at you to say, like, look, here we are. You know, this is a big deal. And given that this is her husband's Justice Department who is prosecuting Hunter Biden, and Joe Biden has sent, I think, repeated public messages to his Justice Department by saying that his son has done nothing wrong, that he's innocent, that he's proud of him, and of course, including him, even up to a couple of days ago, Air Force One, the White House, big events. I mean, how else would you interpret that if you were working at the Department of Justice?
Yeah.
You know what? To be fair, I guess it is unusual in their world to see a First Lady show up and actually support her family. But this idea that Joe Biden is out there threatening people and trying to intimidate people, Joe Biden said, "I'm not going to comment on the case. I support and love my son Hunter." Joe Biden has not one time used the word witch hunt. He's not one time said it was a hoax. He's not one time said it was a conflicted judge. He's not one time said that it was perfectly legal and everything Hunter did was right and by the books. He said none of those things. He's resorted to none of those tactics. So Fox News can try to spin this all they want to and try to make us believe that Jill Biden is there to intimidate the jurors. And that's just so, I'm having a hard time holding a straight face saying that, folks, because we're talking about one of the sweetest ladies ever. And you're telling me that that's your muscle. I mean, it's surprising to me, too, that there are people gullible enough to sit back and actually believe it. The same people that used to tell us all the time, I remember during the 90s, they used to say that Hillary Clinton should leave Bill Clinton, that she should leave him for that. And then when she stuck with him, they were like, well, she should have left him. And I'm like, that goes against everything they normally say, because normally it's you should stand by your man and you should be with him no matter what. That still, I'm sure, gets under their skin to this day that Hillary and Bill Clinton are still together. They would have loved to saw that fall apart, and then they would have said, well, she didn't stick with him. But Melania has definitely not stuck with Donald Trump, and this is one of the funniest clips I've seen in a while, because Donald Trump accidentally dumped some dirt while talking about Melania. Come to find out, the relationship between her and Ivanka has been cold at times. I want you guys to take a look at this clip with Ben Meiselas, and then we're going to talk more about it.
Donald Trump's recent guilty verdict in his hush money case has brought the entire family together, closer together. A source tells Page Six. Says our source, the recent family bonding, this includes a thaw in the sometimes chilly and tense relationship between Melania and Ivanka. Nothing would bring a stepdaughter and stepmom together like your spouse or your father being found criminally guilty for falsifying business records, making hush money payments to a porn star, while the stepmom, in this case Melania, had just given birth. What other ways to bond as a family? Sociopaths. It goes on to say, the source added, the entire family, including all the Trump's children, their significant others, including Don Jr.'s fiance, Kimberly Gargoyle, are all circling the wagons. Look, a nice little picture of them all together. Is it this picture, or is it this picture where Karen McDougal was there at the same time Donald Trump was cheating on Melania with Karen McDougal?
I'm just going to go ahead and say what the rest of you are thinking. I cannot imagine the Trump family being a loving family, a unified family. They're all together. They rallied around in support of their dear old dad, because if they were in support of Daddy Dearest, they would have been there the entire time, right there behind him, saying the same thing right along with him. But instead, Melania no-showed it, completely ghosted it, and then says stay tuned as to when she'll be on the campaign trail. They go out of their way to give her awards at Mar-a-Lago, and then Donald Trump steps up and accepts it on her behalf. They've done everything they can to try to paint this picture, but I'm just having a really hard time seeing that she's this loving, supportive wife behind the scenes, and that the family all gets along great and they all love and support each other. I feel like that they are the true crime family. They love to use the Biden crime family cliche every chance they get. I believe that the only unity they have is to keep themselves out of trouble and to keep themselves from facing consequences. I really believe if there's any unity at all, it's just, hey, let's unify around these lies. Let's unify around all of this bullshit, and let's stick together, and let's hope we can get out of it. But I can't imagine what it would be like to be one of his sons. I know that we sit and have a lot of fun at Don Jr.'s expense because he's low-hanging fruit, and he just walks right into it. I mean, you can't not talk about the things that he says and does. And Eric Trump is a total lost ball in high weeds, so there's always going to be things to say about those two. But can you imagine actually being them and having to live through that? And that if you step out of line with him for one split second, he's coming after you. He's going to come after you. He's going to absolutely destroy you. He doesn't care if you're his kid or not. Can you imagine if Don Jr. suddenly said, you know what, Dad, I just can't do this anymore, and I'm going to tell some shit on you? Oh my God, they would throw him under the bus in a minute. And I think deep down Don Jr. knows that. He's probably a miserable dude at the end of the day, and it's probably pretty sad. And I can't imagine being Ivanka, knowing that your dad said that if you weren't his daughter, he'd be dating you, knowing how people feels about that and all the times that everyone's pointed it out, and knowing that, yeah, your dad cheated on your mom with a porn star, and not her mom, but he's cheated on every wife he's ever had. Okay, he's never been this loyal family man. The morals and values crowd have adopted him as their mascot, but he was never about morals and values before this. None of them were, and now they're trying to step into this and pretend to do this. This is kind of like when an actor who spent his life specializing in horror films tries to go over and play like a Christmas Vacation movie, and they suck at it because it's not what they're good at. The Trump family is clearly good at grifting. They're clearly good at being con men and women in some cases, and so they're good at that. And so now they're trying to adopt the morals and values and look like they're the unified family, and anyone can see through it. Because if they were a unified family, Melania would have been there every step of the way. You know, if she truly forgave him for what happened and there was no more bad blood about it and she had forgave him and they decided to move on, you would go and stand there in support of that person and say, look, we've already been through this. We've already decided that this wasn't going to break our marriage. If she'd have took that angle and that approach, they might have an argument, but they have none because she totally no-showed him. And now they're demonizing Jill Biden for showing up. Again, I would not want to work for Fox News because there's no way that my mind could spin it the way they do. I don't have that ability. I'm sorry.